Like to call the work session in order for July 1st, 2024. City Clerk, please read the roll call.
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Thank you. We have one item on the agenda tonight. We'd like to remind council that staff will be pausing every so often to answer any questions. First item is final plat development services. Wait a minute. Katie Wilkins, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Katie Wilkin, Development Services Director. I am before you to talk about potential changes to the final plat process. This discussion tonight is in support of our strategic plan goal to evaluate processes to streamline the development timeline. So the first thing I wanted to do is talk a little bit about the development timeline. Really, the entire plan review process can get distilled to 4 steps. No matter what you're building in the community or any community, there's 4 basic steps that a project will have to go through. The first is the general plan, and what the general plan does is set the vision and the high-level policy about how we want to grow and develop as a community. The next step is rezoning, which is where we set the standards. What are the building setbacks? What building heights allowed? What kind of uses are permitted? Next is preliminary planning, where we're able to look at the different pieces together. The standards have already been set at this point, but we're just taking a preliminary look and usually seeing how things fit together. We want to make sure there's not a building being built over on top of a water line. We coordinate with our other departments in the city, and we coordinate with outside agencies such as Luke Air Force Base and school districts. Finally is the final plan, and staff is simply looking through the final plan, which is the actual construction plans of what will be built and making sure it meets standards. So through this development process, the 2 major steps that have public review is the general plan and the rezoning. And as council is well aware, the general plan has a direct voice from our citizens. Just 2 months ago, our new general plan was ratified by the voters by 75% of the vote. And then in the rezoning, people also have a voice. First of all, council is the one who makes decisions regarding what our standards are that the city staff will use to review our developments. But of course, we make zoning decisions in public hearing. So any resident or member of the community has an opportunity to come and have their voice heard about a development. So if we look at this example with the single-family residential platting process, the general plan would tell us where do we want to see residential neighborhoods located? While rezoning, before you are some examples of exhibits that might come before you with a rezoning case, where we can generally see what is the planned layout of a subdivision. This image in the middle is the planned circulation, and the image on the right are the amenities and parks plan for that neighborhood. So during the rezoning process, City Council and our community have an opportunity to have their voice heard of how our developments are designed. And council can make decisions on changes to the development standards as they see fit. Whereas the final plat process and the pictures before you are a couple example slides from an actual final plat is a very detailed document that we're simply making sure it meets the standards. When we get to final plat process, and we bring it to City Council, we can't make changes if the plat meets the standards. So then I think the question might be, if that's the case and City Council doesn't have the authority to make changes to final plats, then why are they coming to City Council? And the simple answer is state law has required it. There are certain types of plats that have been administrative, and for Goodyear, we call those minor land divisions. If there's 3 or fewer lots being created, staff has handled those. So there are certain types of plats staff has been reviewing over these years, but most plats were required to come to City Council for action and approval. The roadway dedications were also required to be adopted by City Council. However, last year, there was a change in state law. The legislature passed SB 1103, which gave city councils the authority to allow staff to review and approve final plats if council so wishes. After that, the League of Cities created a model ordinance, which also recommended an administrative process for all final plats, or almost all final plats. And since then, the City of Phoenix and Town of Crane Creek have both changed their final plat processes, so they both are doing fully administrative final plat processes. There are also, we've contacted other cities in the valley, and most cities are underway in having discussions with their council, such as we are tonight, Queen Creek and Phoenix are the only two that have adopted changes to their ordinance as of this time. So currently, final plats have been going to council on the consent agenda, and in the last year and a half, there haven't been any final plats removed from the consent agenda by either city council or the public, and there have been no changes to the staff recommended stipulations. If council did want to give us direction to change the plat process, it would require change to the city code. Chapter 15 is the subdivision regulations, which regulates the platting process. I also just want to give council a reminder that there is an item in the strategic plan for next fiscal year to update the zoning ordinance. So if there are changes council wants to see in our design standards, in our setbacks, and how we regulate the look and feel of our neighborhoods, we're going to be having those discussions with you soon when that project launches early next year. So we will have the opportunity to look at that, and we don't necessarily need to rely on the final plat process to do that work. So staff does recommend that council direct staff to change the process to an administrative process. If you were to give us that direction tonight, we would do outreach to our development community this summer. I can tell you we've already gotten a lot of questions from our customers on when are we going to change our plat process. So I do know that there's a lot of interest in changes to the platting process from our development community. But of course, when we get into the details of exactly how the ordinance would look, definitely our customers would want to have an opportunity to review those draft ordinances and look at what we're proposing before we bring it before you. So we would do that work this summer, and then our hope would be to bring a city code amendment to you for discussion, hopefully as soon as possible. We'd aim for September, just after council break. That concludes my presentation, so I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Just so if the public's hearing this, there's still those first two steps that you outlined, that there is public input and public say. This does not take out those steps at all. I just want to be clear so that people hear that.
Thank you, council member. Absolutely. The public has the opportunity to provide input on specific projects through the rezoning process, which is the time when council has the ability to change the codes or give staff direction on how to implement the project.
Well, thank you. I think it would speed things up immensely, so thank you.
Let's see, Councilmember Campbell.
My question, Katie, is what was the position of our city regarding this bill as it worked itself through the House?
Thank you, council member. I believe we were in support of it. As you know, that there's been a lot of discussion about our processes and zoning processes at the state legislature, so we're always looking for those compromise bills. And this was a really good one because it wasn't authoritative in telling us what we had to do. It simply gives city council the ability to look at these processes and direct staff to change them.
And if we do decide to do that, what does it mean to the developer and what does it mean in their timeline?
Thank you. I believe it'll save at least a couple months on the final plat process for this. And then, of course, it does save them time. They don't have to come down to the city council meetings. They're typically paying a zoning attorney to come in case there is a question that comes up. So there is definitely a money savings and time savings in the development process.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Stipp.
Thank you, Katie. I just want to kind of follow up on what Councilmember Loretano had asked. Can you go back like to your timeline slide? That'll work. Where in this process does the city council get to weigh in?
Thank you. City council adopts the general plan, so that high-level vision. But when we're talking about individual developments, rezoning is when city council weighs
So
in.
if a parcel is already zoned for X, we will never see that here under this new suggested timeline.
Thank you. If somebody is working under their current zoning, you might not see it then if they don't need to come to council to change their standards.
So is that consistent today? So how does this change? How does this change impact what we do today versus what we'll do 6 months from now if this changes?
If this changes, that's the way it is today, but city council does see the final plat today, but city council doesn't have the authority to make changes to the design of the final plat as long as it meets the standards that are already on the book. So even though you're seeing it and you're required to act on it, it does give the perception that council has the authority to make changes, but really you don't, because if it meets the standards, it needs to be adopted per standard. So there could be developments that come through where council didn't see it ahead of time, but you weren't able to make changes to it anyway.
Okay, so a new parcel, 500 acres, wants to develop residential. Do we see that? We don't see that at all then?
Possibly not. If they are already zoned for a particular use.
It's already residential.
It's already residential, then council might not see it.
So in the past, we have seen those preliminary plats, though, and we've been able to say, hey, we want more open space, we want more.
You saw preliminary plats. We made a change to the preliminary plat process, I believe, 3 years ago, and that's similar, that at preliminary plat, you're also not supposed to be making changes to regulations. Zoning is the time we establish standards, so it's really only zoning
Okay.
that anyone has the opportunity to say there should be more open space, or the building should be shorter, or there should be more trees.
So, and the reason that I've been asking the questions this way is that to illustrate for anyone who's listening to this is unless it's in the design guideline, unless it's in the ordinance, we can't really alter what's going, what's not going, because these are already prescribed by what is in the ordinances.
That is correct.
Okay. So I think your comment about the perception that we have the ability to make changes is a really good observation. That while it appears as though we have some magic wand ability, we honestly don't have the power to energize that magic wand to make things better or make things different. And we're, right now, what we're talking about is making the change to the final plan, the final plat process.
Correct.
So, which is very administrative at this point. It comes to us, it hits the agenda, we go on and off we go. So I think what we're learning through these past probably couple of years is what do we need to be able to influence the things that we can, and I think we want to continue to see those as a council. And I think when this comes back to us with the larger, I think maybe a better picture of how that looks, where can we pull strings and where can we not? I think having that for the public to see. And it's also a good reminder for us. I think by then we'll have identified perhaps new council members by then, so it will be good for them to hear it as well. And kind of laying out for the public where we can and cannot influence the various projects. I think the greatest frustration we have on council is we get frequent emails about, you should put this here, you should put that there. And I realize I'm preaching to the choir, but we don't have the ability to decide whatever the landowner wants to put there is what the landowner is essentially entitled to put there. So I think kind of spelling that out will be really important. So I appreciate the process. I'm okay with moving forward with this going to an administrative action. I think we've taken these steps in the last few years to speed up some of our other components. I know we've had a great deal of pressure from the legislature to get our processes to be even faster, and this is, I think, a result of that. So thanks for doing it.
Vice Mayor?
I want to thank my fellow council members. They've asked really good, insightful questions about the process. I was trying to recall in the tenure that I've been here, 6 years, have we ever pulled a preliminary or final? And I don't recall. Now I find out we really can't. So I guess that explains it. I concur with your staff recommendation and also look forward to the conversation about the zoning ordinance.
Great discussion. I don't see any other discussion points up here, except to say that unfortunately, once you approve the preliminary plat, the final plat really is an extra 2 months for what? You know what I mean? I think it's important to streamline the process, and the rezoning is what I tell people when I'm out there. If you got an issue, rezoning is where you want to make the move, you know? And all of our other things that have been adopted is pretty much what we can't kind of go against. So I have no problem with a streamline on that. So again, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, with that, there be no further business to discuss. This meeting is adjourned. We'll move right into the video for the regular council meeting.
Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the city employee at the back of the room. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to let council know your opinion without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order July 1st, 2024. Go ahead, Mark. Everybody present? All right. All right. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almighty Father, please provide wisdom to all of us on the dais that we make good decisions for our citizens. Also, we have a major celebration coming up this week, the 4th of July, our Independence Day. Please have a hand over all of us out there. Please keep our residents safe, everybody in the community, our public servants, our first responders that'll be going over and making sure everything happens on time and correctly at the ballpark. And in your name, amen. Let's see what we got here. We have 2 communication items tonight. First item is to recognize Goodyear CERT Team, Spring 2024 class graduates. Go ahead and come on up and introduce yourself.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brian Woodard. I'm the Emergency Manager for the City of Goodyear. And the resilience of a community starts at home. And with that goal and mission in mind, the Community Emergency Response Team CERT program educates citizens about disaster preparedness for hazards that may impact our community by teaching basic disaster response skills such as fire safety, home utility safety, light search and rescue, team organization, and disaster medical operations. Using the training learned in the classroom and during exercises, CERT members can assist others in their neighborhood or workplace following an incident when professional responders are not immediately available to help. CERT members are also encouraged to support emergency response agencies by taking a more proactive role in emergency preparedness projects in their communities. I'm proud to introduce the Goodyear CERT graduates of the spring 2024 class. And here tonight with us, we have Alan Esperanza. We have Nathaniel Neal. We have Margaret Cady and Sandra Perez. And other graduates who could not attend this evening include Drew Radosevic, John Vader, and Rita Vader. On behalf of your fire department, the city, and your community, I want to commend all of you for your commitment to help when most needed. Thank you for completing the course.
Congratulations. Stay right there. Stay right there. All right, the next item is recognition of our lifeguards. Please introduce yourself. Yeah, give them a chance to come on down.
It's a big team. They have 120 of them. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you all coming down.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Mike Beadle. I'm the Recreation Superintendent, and I supervise daily operations for the Goodyear Recreation Campus. I'm excited to come before you tonight to recognize the lifeguard staff at the GRC for their heroic efforts stemming from an incident at the Goodyear Recreation Campus on June 5th, 2024. As you know, the GRC is the hotspot in Goodyear. We see over 420,000 guests per year, and during the summer we see over 2,000 guests per day, many of them coming to enjoy and cool off in the Aquatic Center. We hire over 120 lifeguards each summer to ensure a safe and welcoming environment for everyone that comes into the facility. Now, some people may think that lifeguarding is a cool, easy job, right? Get a good tan, sit by the pool, maybe watch some kids around water, but it's quite the contrary. Our staff, as you can see, go through rigorous training to prepare every single day to keep all Goodyear residents safe when they come and visit the pool. We have 127 lifeguards, and they conduct 30 hours each of preseason training. They do 16 hours of in-service training every week, and the in-services consist of skill building, reviewing the emergency action plan, and going through drills. On top of that, we do daily drills, we do weekly audits for the guards, and in the preseason, we partner with Goodyear Fire and PD to do a mock drowning drill, so that way we know that we're prepared just in case an incident does occur. And all of this is in the name of safety and preparedness for our staff. On June 5th, 2024, the lifeguard team had to put those skills to test in a big way. At approximately 2:40 p.m., the staff activated the EAP, the Emergency Action Plan, by blowing their whistle and jumping into the water to rescue a 10-year-old child. That child was completely unresponsive when he was pulled from the water. Staff immediately began to give rescue breaths and life-saving CPR. After several cycles of CPR, the child miraculously opened their eyes and began to breathe on their own. Staff continued to provide care until Goodyear Fire and Police arrived, and he was transported to the local hospital for extended care. The child did spend the night in the hospital, but I am ecstatic to report that he made a full recovery, and he even stopped by the rec center a couple of weeks later and signed up for an adaptive swim lesson for us in our program. The successful outcome of this incident is a direct result of the exceptional training and dedication of all of these young people before you tonight. Their bravery and quick thinking in the face of crisis absolutely saved a life that day. From the guard jumping in the water, to the guard that called 911, to the guard that gave compressions and life-saving rescue breaths, all of them had a critical part of making that save that day. They helped console a frantic parent, and each of these kids here tonight are responsible for that little boy being alive and home with his family tonight. I can't thank our staff enough for everything that they do for us, but in this incident, they absolutely are heroes, and I would like to recognize them tonight.
Let's give 'em a hand. Okay.
And this time, I'd like to turn it over to the mayor and council for comments.
Gonna come in down for a shot? And then, I'll tell you what, how about some comments first and then the shot? How about that? Anybody like to make some comments? Go ahead.
I want to say thank you to all of you. Oftentimes, we hear about the news about young people doing this, doing that, and I think you are a stellar group of young people, and thank you. And you are role models for our citizens, no matter how old they are, and because of you, that little boy and so many others, you know, they're going to get another chance to go swimming. So you're life changers, you're life savers, so thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to thank each one of you. When this incident happened and we were notified that there was a possible drowning at our recreation center, our hearts just stopped. We know what you went through to save that little boy, and we just want to thank you, and we wanted you to have this recognition because it's so important that you know we appreciate all that you do. I have 4 youngsters, they're all married now, but when they were in high school, every single one of them was a lifeguard at a local pool wherever we were stationed. And they would come home telling me, well, we didn't have to save anyone today, and we were so glad. But they are trained and they were ready to do it. So every one of you are a hero. We want to thank you for all that you do, and just keep knowing that you're very important. Keep your eyes on that pool because you're keeping all of us safe. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
During COVID, we became familiar with a term called essential worker, and you really are essential workers because we could not open up our pools and our programs without you. And I was reading at the beginning of the summer, there was such a high demand for lifeguards and not enough. And we're fortunate that we were able to hire the best of the best. It's a tremendous responsibility. You rose to the challenge, and we're so proud of you and we're so thankful.
Councilmember Hampton?
The same thing. Thank you so much for all your hard work and all that you do. I have 3 kids, and I definitely feel safe having them swim at the rec center. So that's the credit to all of you and your hard work. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Gillis?
I'm just impressed with the age of all of you and that you've all stepped up to want to be a part of your community. I think that's awesome, and I think it's awesome for what you did, and I just want to say thank you very much for everything you did.
Councilmember Stitt?
Trying not to reiterate what everybody else has said, but, you know, I think you stand here tonight thinking I just come and do my job and I just go home, and I don't know that you really realize the impact that you have sitting at your station or standing at your station or being around, and the impact that you have not only on that one life, but everybody who's there. It's a big weight to carry for, I'm going to say, people your age. But it is, your community greatly appreciates you being there, and you should be very proud. Keep up the good work. Continue to keep your eyes sharp. We're all counting on you, so thank you.
You know, I'm so pleased with our younger generation. You know, when we have a Make a Difference Day, you all show up and help on there. We have the Youth Commission that volunteer, and then you all are volunteering and doing the work there at the lifeguard. I tell you, it's amazing. I know, like our council member Laura Thomas had mentioned, sometimes you hear on the news some things but that's not this community. I'm so proud of this community. I'm so proud of our young people that step up to be part of this community. And again, from the bottom of my heart, and your council that you're hearing on here, thank you for all you do. You did save a life, which is really, really impressive. Meanwhile, come down, we'll take a shot. Okay. Come on in. I'm short, so I can stand next to you. That's the advantage of being short. There you go.
Like if you like stagger every other.
You do, but that's good. I want them to be tall to save me.
So they can see you, Wally?
Yeah.
You see everybody in the back standing up?
Come on over here more in the middle.
Thank you.
You say no, you said no speaker? No speaker. That's. I'm going to give everybody a chance to go ahead and go. Awesome, awesome group of young kids, I'm telling you. Okay, the city clerk, please read the consent agenda, items 3 through 10, because there are no speaker cards. Go ahead. Okay, well, let her go ahead and go through them.
And just for the record, there were no speaker cards.
Yeah.
Number 3, approval of minutes. Number 4, approval of new Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license for 7-Eleven. Number 47390, 1035 North Estrella. Number 5, approval of a location transfer Series 9 liquor store liquor license and sampling privileges for Winco Foods. Number 130 at 15581 West McDowell. Number 6, approval of new Series 12 restaurant liquor license for the Country Griddle at 330 North Dysart Road, number 101. Number 7, approve budget amendments and related expenditure authority. Number 8, authorize the city manager to execute and approve the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management Cooperative Agreement for wildland fire deployments. Number 9, authorize the city manager to execute and approve the Arizona Forestry and Fire Management Fire Rate Agreement. And number 10, approve the amendment to the multi-party agreement for brine disposal.
Thank you. Does anybody want to remove or got a question? Got a question on which one? Number 4. Darcy, I guess that's for you.
It's just a quick one. So I understand that 7-Eleven's a drive-through. Will there be liquor being able to get passed through the window? Is it a drive-through liquor? Or is that a stipulation where that can't happen?
Don't have the answer to that, and I don't think is the applicant here.
I'm pretty sure in Goodyear we don't do that, but I just wanted to make sure, since it is a liquor license and it is a drive-through, I just wanted to verify that.
I'm not sure who would have the answer to that here.
Yeah.
Anybody?
It would maybe be in the car.
I don't, yeah, I'm just curious if we're creating an opportunity for that, that's all.
I would think they still got to show ID, number one, from
It'd be
21.
it'd be the first drive-through liquor in Goodyear, so I just want to verify.
Good. Bill? Hold on, give him a second. Attorney's going to respond?
Yeah, I think we'll have to follow up on that. This is a state liquor license recommendation, so I think as far as any regulation of drive-throughs, that would probably have to be in a use permit type of setting, which this is not. This is the city's position on the liquor license, so we'll take a look at it.
I think we've already approved the drive-through use.
Yes.
So I just want to verify, I'm just curious. Can someone drive through there and get alcohol through the window?
We'll research that and get back to you on that.
Okay, so I know I can't necessarily approach that, or I can't deny the liquor license here.
Correct.
Unless, okay,
Not on that basis.
okay, okay, thank you.
You okay?
Huh?
Gonna have to change our screen.
All right? Okay. All right, with that, can I get a motion and a second? I see a motion and a second on the board. Any other further discussion? Seeing none? Going to vote?
Click it. There we go. Tally.
Passes 7-0. Thank you. I would like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second for discussion. We have 3 items for business. First item is to approve Amendment 13 to the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Regional Public Safety Authority. Go ahead, please introduce yourself for the public.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Christy McMurdy, Project Management Coordinator for the Engineering Department. Actually, the first 2 are mine, and I'm going to flow through the presentation. I will pause between them, and then I'll let you take action as soon as I'm done. So the first action, I'm requesting your authorization to renew our agreement with Valley Metro to provide accessible transit services to our ADA certified customers that use Ride Choice and Dial-A-Ride. The second action is to accept 2 gently used Chrysler Voyager vans that will be used for WeRide. Before I talk about the accessible transit services data, let's take a look at the ADA service area. The Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, mandates equal access to ensure the disabled receive the same programs and services that others receive. This is why the city is required to provide Dial-A-Ride service 3/4 of a mile from our fixed route bus along McDowell Road, which is Route 17, and along Van Buren, which is Route 3. But as we found out when one of our residents in Estrella Mountain Ranch came to council and spoke about how she couldn't get to the services she needed without the assistance of her adult son, we realized that coverage was really not enough to serve the city. In 2018, with your approval, we signed on to Ride Choice. Our goal was not only to expand ADA access to the entire city, but also to reduce our Dial-A-Ride costs by offering a less expensive transportation alternative that still met the requirements of the ADA. Dial-A-Ride and Ride Choice have unique service characteristics. On Dial-A-Ride, a customer has to share their trip with other customers, they have to book their trip in advance, they can only book that trip when transit operates, and their destination must be within the 3/4 mile boundary that you see on that map in blue. Ride Choice, on the other hand, provides a greater flexibility for ADA certified customers because it offers the trips on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can ride alone, and they're not subject to that 3/4 mile barrier. So let's look at the data for last fiscal year. The top 5 Ride Choice trip purposes are dialysis, medical facilities, shopping, business centers, and adult daycare. Ride Choice customers can either receive 20 trips per month for $3 per trip up to 8 miles, or they can travel up to 400 miles per month for $3 per trip. They have to stay in Maricopa County, and they can't carry over unused miles to the next month. The chart on the right is our Dial-A-Ride service area. Most of these customers are going to specialized services, and they're going up to 5 days a week. These trips are services for the deaf, services for the blind, specialized schools for developmental disabilities, and people going to jobs. The data on both charts is through April of this year, and while we do see some peaks on the Dial-A-Ride side, the good news is that Dial-A-Ride ridership is not growing. It's staying flat. And that's mostly because these are customers that have been using Dial-A-Ride for years. It's the service they're most comfortable with, and they just really don't want to change. Another benefit for us, though, is that Valley Metro is actually working on combining the reservations and dispatch for Dial-A-Ride and Ride Choice. And once this process is complete, they'll be able to offer the customer either service. What we expect as a result of that is that more will choose the Ride Choice option because of the flexibility, and that should bring some of our costs down. On the Ride Choice side, we're also looking for a reduction in cost because as of today, the city of Phoenix has joined the service. So we're expecting that economies of scale will help bring down that cost as well. Mayor, I can pause here and take any questions that council has about Dial-A-Ride and Ride Choice.
Councilmember Stipp, you had a question at this point?
It's a commercial. Can you go back a slide, please? That area in blue is the area that we're required to provide Dial-A-Ride services to because we have a dedicated bus line that runs through that area. Proposition 479 this fall, if it is not passed, that bus line goes away and that shaded dark blue area goes away as well. So the importance of Dial-A-Ride and its connection to Proposition 479 is very intertwined when we look at maps like this. And that's just our, I'm going to say our one bus route area, but other communities in the valley will see significant effects if Proposition 479 isn't passed. Thanks.
Councilmember Loretano, you got a question?
Just a statement. I want to thank you because a lot of people know my father's 80-some years old in Estrella, and you were great about helping me set up some of these services and seeing what's available there. So I think they're great services that extend throughout our city for our citizens, and I think they're very helpful, and I would agree 100% with what Councilmember Stipp just said. They're very important that we're able to maintain these services for our older population. As we do these and they change, sometimes our website is a little hard to find stuff on. Is there going to be like an update to the website, like kind of a cheat sheet on this? Because you were great at helping me, but some of that stuff was like, which one do I choose?
Thank you, Councilmember Loretano. The 5 words I got from my deputy city manager was try to talk slow. So yes, I agree. It can be very confusing. And that's actually what we're really hoping when we're able to combine the dispatch and the customer service for both these services. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more people that really understand the breadth of what these services can do for them. On demand, as we've learned through WeRide, has become huge. And most of the companies that are providing these trips for the Ride Choice service are the T's and C's. There's a Lyft and the Ubers, and these are companies that are professionally certified to transport people that need a little extra assistance. So in answer to your question about the website, yes, I'm going to take a look at that over the summer while you're on break and see if there's a way that maybe we can do things a little more graphically, less words, and maybe a better sense, even to your point with my colleague Katie about helping the public understand. Sometimes pictures are a lot stronger for people to help them figure it out than there are words. And I'm going to put a plug in for Lenny at the front desk, our resident expert on chairs in the city, that he has really done an excellent job of navigating those questions at the front desk and sending these people to me. So we've been able to help a lot more people. The other little thing too is that with, now that we have WeRide, there's a little bit of a bump on the ride choice service also because of that. So when Lenny will get a phone call from somebody that says, I really want to use ride choice or WeRide, but I can't get that far. I can't walk that 2 to 3 blocks to get to my virtual stop. That's sort of a flag. So he'll send those people my way, or he'll send them direct to Valley Metro, and they'll be able to evaluate whether that person needs to be ADA assessed. And that usually leads to the ride choice option. So there's a lot of good things that have been coming about since WeRide kind of came on board, where people are getting a little more interested in the services that the city is able to provide to them. And I'm going to jump just one more thing, because Councilmember Campbell has brought this up in the past. The other good thing that's coming is the ADA assessments are actually going to start expanding in the valley. It's not just going to be that trip downtown to Phoenix where you have to wait and then you get assessed and then you're brought back to wherever you live. Valley Metro has heard not just from Councilmember Stipp, but also Councilmember Klein and Surprise and several other West Valley cities that is just not as feasible an option as it might be for other cities in the valley. So there's going to be a lot more options for people to get assessed for ADA eligibility. And again, this all works in the favor of trying to help people become more mobile, get them the ride that they need. So yeah, we'll be working on the website over the summer for sure. Thank you. You're welcome.
Councilmember Gillis, did you have a question?
No, I just have a comment. I thank you for everything you do, because you do a lot with all this transportation. It's amazing to me what you do.
Thank you, Councilmember Gillis.
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
I said, thank you, you do a lot. Anyway, I think I want to put a plug in for Lenny too, because I don't think he gets enough plugs. He is fantastic, and I love the fact that he's able to do that for you and do that for the people also. So
Yeah.
he can gear them in the right direction and then let you know what is needed, so then you can let us know and we can go from there. He does a lot that I don't think people realize, and I think he's the best, so.
It's a great time to be in Goodyear.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to move now to, we're going to talk about some savings. So this is kind of exciting. Currently, we have 5 vehicles in the WeRide fleet. Except for the larger Dodge ProMaster, which seats 8 passengers, these Chrysler vans seat up to 5. Most of the vans have been in service since 2022, and they came online at or around the same time. Most of them are out of warranty. So the vehicles are operating well for not being manufactured for transit services, but we're expecting more maintenance as we move into year 3 of our WeRide contract. A few months ago, Valley Metro made us an offer that's also going to help them. And they are slightly over their allowable spare fleet, which is an FTA rule. So they're offering us 2 of their spares to get closer to the compliance for FTA, while we get 2 ADA compliant vans that we can rotate into service when we need to we need to do maintenance on the other vehicles. And this will allow us to not have any impact to our customers. They will not experience a service delay. It's important to note this is not an increase in service. We are still serving the same zone with the same number of vehicles. Our only cost is to wrap them and add some equipment. And with that, Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions on this one as well.
Any questions? Go ahead. You got a question?
So they're all Dodges, right? They're all the same type?
Chryslers.
Chryslers.
Yes.
But the whole fleet is the same brand, except for the big one.
In the transit industry, we pretty much stick to Ford, Chrysler, and I forgot the third one.
That's fine. It's not ours are all the same, though.
Ours are all
Yeah.
Chrysler's, with the exception of the ProMaster.
big
That's the
one.
larger vehicle, and that is a Dodge ProMaster, and that we can put about 8 people in that vehicle.
Okay. No, I think it's good to keep consistent for economies of scale, for maintenance, things like that.
Yes.
And we maintain those, or we use them, we take them to the Dodge dealership to maintain them?
We actually, because Avondale and Goodyear share, we're so close together, we are using Rodeo Ford for service.
local.
Yeah, so we're
Good.
staying local. It just makes it easier to bring the vehicles back in a timely manner.
No, I appreciate that. I like using local. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
Red's all about local.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
My question is, where will these be stored when they're not being used? Where do you park them?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Campbell. Our We Ride operation is actually located at the flight facility on Litchfield Road, south of Yuma, and that's where they'll be. That's where our service originates every day for both Avondale and Goodyear.
Do we pay rent on that property?
Yes, ma'am, we do. It's part of our cost for the service.
Okay.
Anything else? The only thing I want to add, and it's probably a little off track here, but from a cost standpoint, unfortunately, we have state legislators that love to hit local control to the extent of $5 million for our rental tax. So any contacts that you have down there, to ask them to please leave that alone, because I'm sure that these costs are continue to rise. And one of our bigger challenges is taking one-time money and making sure it's ongoing, because it's an ongoing expense. So we wouldn't have that issue if they would leave us alone, but unfortunately they don't. So I've got to put that plug in whenever I can, because sometimes they think one size fits all, and it doesn't fit all. It was a significant impact, and that money could have been used to broaden this program.
To your point.
So, to my point, we're going to have bigger challenges when the next fiscal year. So
Yeah.
just if you have any contacts down there, just please tell them. If you see them doing any more of that, just tell them, leave us alone. I appreciate that. Thank you. Go ahead.
That is the end of my presentation.
That's it?
Yep.
See any more questions? All right, city can enter a motion and a second to authorize the city manager to approve Transit Service Amendment 13 between City of Goodyear and Regional Public Transportation Authority related to the fiscal year 2025 budget transfer. I see a motion and I see a second. Go ahead and open for voting. Passes 7-0. On the next item, is that yours as well? You've already done it? All right, so the next item, IGA between the city and the Regional Public Transit Authority, already been done, right? So will the city clerk please enter a motion and a second to authorize the city manager to approve, to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Goodyear and the Regional Public Transportation Authority, RPTA, for 2 accessible vehicles to be used for the continued provision of microtransit services in Goodyear. I see a motion and a second. Any more further discussion? Open it up. Passes 7-0. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Last item on the business, consider adopting the City Council discretionary funds policy. And again, I emphasize policy. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Jared Askelson. I'm the Finance Director here with the City of Goodyear. Tonight, we're talking about the discretionary funds, Council discretionary funds policy that was included with your packet. About 4 weeks ago, we held a work session. At that work session, we discussed both the amount and the use of discretionary funds. At that time, we received direction that we would table the discussion of the amount for 6 months, so we will schedule something for December to continue that discussion. We did talk about the use and how currently it was governed by essentially practice and a council guide, council resource guide, but nothing specifically adopted by council. With this policy, though, we have a few things that we're lining out. First, we're establishing the procedures for both setting the amount or changing the amount using the budget process, a supplemental during the budget or a mid-year amendment to change that. The other thing is we're codifying really the practice that we have today, which is to use our citywide administrative policies and guidelines to govern how we do the transactions. So today, when you talk to Cindy about putting your transactions in, she's following those guidelines. This policy now sets it so that we will follow those. So it's just essentially laying out the practice that we've had in the past. It also is setting aside setting up the 4 eligible uses. So it's in line with the council resource guide that we had before. Travel-related expenses and registration for work-related events, community outreach events and constituent communications, allocations to charitable or internal organizations, and finally, meals and events related to council duties and responsibilities. We are also setting out 4 ineligible uses, again in line with the resource guide that we've been using in practice for the last countless years. Travel and entertainment expenses that are not work-related, ineligible. Items that may appear to be potentially campaign-motivated. Any expense that would solely benefit another political subdivision. And finally, any expense that would create a new ongoing commitment. And with that, I'll turn it over to council to discuss and possibly take action on this policy.
Okay, any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Let's see, will the council please enter a motion and a second to adopt the city council discretionary fund policy? I see a motion and a second. Open for discussion. Councilmember Campbell?
Can this money be used to buy something for our office, our city office?
So
I read it and I don't see it. I don't know that that doesn't mean it can't be done.
So it's not listed as one of the ineligible uses.
So you possibly
However,
could.
you could not purchase it for personal use,
No.
but possibly to decorate your office? Potentially, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Loretano?
I appreciate, I read through this and kind of followed up since I was absent from this meeting out of the country. So I do appreciate the conversation that was had, and I think that I agree with what came forward. And also, there is the provision in there, if there is an abuse of this, there is basically a mechanism that it is taken care of. Is that correct?
That's correct. The other thing is, under the ineligible uses, we specifically say any determination that is kind of gray area, that the city manager would make a decision with consultation of the city attorney. And if there still is disagreement over that, it can be brought back before the entire council to make a decision on those expenses.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Let's open it up for vote. Passes 6-1. All right, with that, does council have any comments, commendations, reports, current events, or anything that you, in the future? Go ahead.
I went to the night market last night, saw some other council members there, so it was a decent turnout for how hot it was out there. I was surprised how many people were there with the heat, and then people were just relaxing, watching the band play and getting food and supporting the event. So saw the mayor out there, and Wally, I know Wally was there. I don't know who was there too, but yeah, it was a good event. So thank you.
Good. Anything else? Yes?
I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the support that I received from the Goodyear Fire Department and the members of Local 4005 during last week's medical emergency, we'll just call it. So I greatly appreciated the care that I received, not only from them, but additionally, the support from the Abrazo senior leadership. It was great. I was grateful for it. So, Chief Louisi, please extend my appreciation to everybody. Too many people to name individually, and probably more behind the scenes than I even was aware. So, just thank you.
Anything else? Well, we were at the change of command today at Luke. It's really nice, you know, every 2 years, and unfortunately, they got to go, Ox, or General Rushoff, is moving to Colorado with his family. I'm sorry to see him go. But with that, it was nice. Even the governor showed up for the event, which was kind of nice. And typically, I don't ever remember seeing her at any of those events in the past. So, you know, that was really nice. So, supposed to meet the new general, I think tomorrow, is it? So, I got a feeling he's going to be almost all business as compared to Ox, but we'll see when we meet him tomorrow. But with that, I don't see anything else up here. The next meeting will be July 8th, and that will be, yes, go ahead, City Manager.
I do have a couple things.
Okay, go ahead, shoot.
On the night market, as Councilmember Hampton mentioned, we had 54 artisans, vendors, 10 food trucks, 1,300 guests as the. But what I really want to highlight is the Star Spangled Fourth this week. We have the event on Thursday, and we're holding it at 2 locations. Our crowds have been so large that we are holding it at the Goodyear Ballpark, which the ballpark will have live music, fighter country talent, lawn games, arts, crafts, concession, and food trucks, but also at the Goodyear Recreation Campus with inflatables in the park, DJ playing fun music, and food trucks. Both venues will provide great views of the fireworks. We are expecting a large crowd, so there are buses that will be running between the 2 locations, overflow parking at Desert Edge High School and Basis School. I just want to say thank you to PD, fire, streets, everybody, the ballpark, Parks and Recreation, who will be involved in this very large event. It's our biggest of the year. And if you need more information, please visit goodyearaz.gov/events, and you can get more information. Yes, sir.
A quick question. Are the bounce houses water bounce houses? Or are they straight bounce houses?
Yeah.
Nathan says yes.
Okay. It's warm out there, so.
It's warm out there,
Thank you.
yes. But I hope everyone has a very safe 4th of July and
Yes.
enjoy the holiday. That's it.
You good? Next meeting will be July 8th, and that'll be our last one before our break, correct? So with that, no further business. Meeting dismissed.